Great. Hi. Good morning from me. Good afternoon for you. So where are you based out of, Jessica?
I'm actually outside of San Francisco, and then I commute between this market in Los Angeles.
Okay. Wow. So you must be traveling a lot then. Great. So Jessica, obviously, first I would like to know more about you. So if you could tell me more about yourself, about your journey in sports so far, would be great.
Yeah, well, that's something that gets longer every time I talk about it. So, my journey in sports. So, I am originally from upstate New York, and I interned for a minor league baseball team when I was a junior in college, and that really came from the motivation of, at the time, I wanted to be a sports journalist. So, was really working to get some experience working for an organization to understand the ins and outs of everything. And when I worked for a minor league team, I fell in love with just how everything fit together, and my eyes were opened to how it all worked. As a sports fan, and when you're younger, you don't really understand that. Oh, when you see the mascot somewhere, that's because somebody had a community relationship and then booked that and then staffed it and someone showed up. Or, oh, we had a clinic with youth teams. Well, somebody had to manicure the field and then make sure the players knew to be there and program it and then get the children there and make sure they had a safe and wonderful experience, right? So, really, just the understanding that there was a whole group of people in an office making all of that work for the outward, you know, uh, uh, thing that came, following that was just something that I was drawn to right away from that moment. So I ended up after school, continuing my work in minor league baseball, moving to Southern California, working for a team in the Inland Empire, which is east of Los Angeles. Was there for a couple of years before accepting a job at the Oakland Athletics, the Major League Baseball club in the San Francisco Bay Area. At the A's, I was there for 8 seasons, and I joined the A's on the ticketing team. So I was there to sell group tickets. I very quickly moved up to the manager of group sales, where I would make sure that we were selling as many tickets as we could to the 81 home games, which is a lot of home games, as we could to maximize those seats and create really special experiences for fans. And then from there was an opening that came up on the sponsorship side of the business internally. And candidly, I wasn't going to apply for it. I was really happy with my managers in the ticketing department, really focused on taking that next step with them. But a lot of times when I would put things together for groups, I would always go over to the sponsorship team and have small business plans, letting them know, hey, we're putting together this heritage night. Here's what brands you might be able to upsell this to. Or if you like to activate alongside your partners, like here's how you could do that with this group of folks. So I had an innate understanding of how it could all work together to generate revenue for the company. And when the position opened, a friend of mine at the time, she was overseeing marketing at the A's. She said, you have to apply for that, right? And I was like, well, why would I apply for that? And going from managing people to not managing people. And then I went home and thought about it. And two things, one, I was naturally very good at it. So I had some, just a understanding that I knew I could do that job. But then two, really thought through that 5-year plan for me, myself personally, right? So what would make me a stronger candidate? What would enable me to have more growth, and climb the ladder long term? And by having both sales experience from ticketing and sales experience from sponsorship, not many people are able to do that on both sides of the business. So I ultimately did apply and was able to get the job in sponsorship, where a very patient mentor of mine, Darren Gross, at the time, taught me everything I needed to know. At the time, I had no idea what an OKR meant, and he was super patient with me on all things. And I found some quick success and was able to really do a great job for them. But very quickly, so within a couple of years, I'm looking around and thinking, okay, well, how do I go to the next step? I love what I'm doing. I'm good at it, but how would I become a leader? And there's 100 other people doing exactly what I'm doing across the US and like very good at it. So I ended up signing up for the Ohio University Master's in Sports Administration program. So in that program, for me, I took that on to not only increase my knowledge base of all things in the sports industry, not just professional sports and not just baseball at the time. There was collegiate and nonprofit work and coaches and et cetera within the cohort. But I really took that opportunity to start testing my leadership skills, to hone in on who I wanted to be as a leader, how I wanted to do that, and to increase my network of people, that would enable me to succeed in that front. So I had a really incredible learning experience with that program. And directly following it was actually offered a position with the Columbus Blue Jackets in the National Hockey League to oversee both premium seating and sponsorship. So was able to take the leadership skills, and put them to test, but then also take the work that I had done both on the sponsorship side of the business and the ticketing side of the business and really do some great work there. I was there for 2 seasons, and following that was anxious to get back to the West Coast with the weather being nicer. So moved back to work for Major League Soccer's San Jose Earthquakes as their vice president of sponsorship. So getting into the soccer space was something that was certainly of interest to me, and knowing the growth that it's having, the trajectory that it has, the demographics around younger audiences, the speed of the game, the global impact that it entails. It's just such a different platform than traditional American sports within American football and hockey and baseball and basketball. So was thrilled to take that opportunity, and was there for just about 5 seasons. And while I was there, I received a LinkedIn message from Julie Ehrman, who is the founder and president of Angel City at the time. This was 2.5 years ago. It was just a woman in my direct messages that said, "Hey, I think, I'm starting a project in Los Angeles that I'd love your take on. I hear, you're the woman to talk to in sports sponsorship." At the time, I looked at her profile. We had no mutual connections, and it was all based in technology. And I said, I had no idea what I thought I could help this woman with. But when we spoke on the phone, she had shared with me, "Hey, I'm working with a few people. We're thinking about bringing a women's club to LA." And I immediately told her, if you don't do this in like a huge way, if you don't do this the right way, don't do it, because it could be detrimental, knowing what the potential was, for Los Angeles and for the women's game that I personally was a fan of doing. So thankfully, Julie and I continued, chatting as she was building Angel City. And then in 2020, in the midst of the pandemic, she actually asked me to come on and oversee partnerships with them full time as they built the club. And I was thrilled to do so. What they had done already, in building the organization as a purpose-driven team that was here to create higher expectations on and off the field, with an ownership group that built trust and backing, to know that this was going to be successful, with everyone from Eva Longoria to Natalie Portman to 12 former U.S. Women's National Team members who built this game to what it is today. That's a portfolio of people I definitely wanted to work beside and work for. So I joined the club about 1.5 years ago now, which is crazy to think. And I've been, thrilled to be here ever since.
That's a brilliant journey, Jessica, and I'm sure you must be rocking it, because from your experiences and how you set goals for yourself and achieved it, and and got even better, which shows obviously the amazing growth and how passionate you are. Moving on to the next question, uh, pandemic must have been a tough time for you to come on board. What has been the experience like? What have been the challenges during the past 1.5 years? Because this is a very crucial period as you're going to start your inaugural season very soon. So, what have been the challenges so far because of COVID?
Yeah, I mean, there were definitely some challenges, but I also think we were in probably a better space than most organizations and most sporting entities, because we weren't tied to games quite yet. So as we were building our club, it actually allowed us to do so kind of in a petri dish, right? Of just, okay, these are our objectives. At the time, we had a handful of people working on it, myself included, and we just knew what we were trying to accomplish. Then we were able to get some wins and started to build out our staff. I think as we're getting ready to take on actual games in April of next year, right, we're going to come into the sports world, which has had to continually adapt to both local mandates, national mandates, and international mandates around just keeping our fans and society healthy, right? So that's definitely going to be something that we have to focus on. I will say, like, being at the Quakes during COVID, so being in it, like when it happened, it was very difficult, for the sports industry and all entertainment and events, right, to adapt to, because the world halted very quickly, and that impacted many different people, and brands were shifting their goods and services, and teams were doing their best to figure out make goods that were successful, in real time. So that was certainly a journey. But with Angel City, I would say, there really have not been those types of hurdles, given how we were built virtually. We have an office, so we've grown up quite a bit. We have multiple employees. I would say that the biggest thing now is is making sure that, we have staff, that we can recruit, that feels comfortable coming into work, that's excited about building what we're building. Since, I think overall our society, we've seen just a lot of people disperse and do different things too. So.
That's great. So you guys were building this up all virtually and not, you guys hadn't met in an office, and this was all virtually when you were like connecting with each other and trying to build on strategies, etc. That's amazing.
Yeah,
So moving,
Julie and I had met in person. I was going to say we've met in person twice before everything locked down. And then we only saw each other once more before I formally accepted the job. And then I worked with numerous coworkers that I've only now just met in person over the last couple of months.
that's nice. That's brilliant. Moving on, Jessica, obviously, because you handle sponsorship, what's the strategy like? And obviously, I know you're leveraging data analytics big time. So moving on, what's it looking like for you sponsorship wise next year?
Yeah, so we have built an incredible sponsorship business, and really our sponsorship business, well, certainly, we're relying on data and analytics. We're more so relying on the purpose of who Angel City is. So when we built Angel City, when we said, we're creating higher expectations on and off the field, there's 3 ways that we hold ourselves accountable to that. The first pillar is equity. So equity for us is talking about pay equity. It's why we're here. We can't fix pay equity, tomorrow, but we can educate the marketplace as to why it exists and what we can all do, whether we are consumers, teams, leagues, athletes, brands, et cetera. How do we come together and propel this forward and get more resource into the pool to fix pay equity? But equity to Angel City is also so much more than that. Equity is making sure that we are supporting the Black community and people of color and those with disabilities and the LGBTQ community, and really everyone, to make sure that we're providing a level playing field. We hold that responsibility to. The second pillar for us is essentials. And when we first began, essentials was something we spoke about as the essential of sport, which is incredibly powerful, right? Whether you're providing safe places to play or equipment to youth, the data behind that is unbelievable. But we were told in a meeting with a local nonprofit partner of ours, LA84, that one of the main reasons young women stop playing sports is they don't have access to a sports bra. And for us, we looked at essentials and thought we need to make sure that we're also showing up for our community and building whole human beings, whether we are thinking about food security, housing security, mental wellness, et cetera. Those are things that are on our mind. And the third pillar for us is education. And I promise this will make sense in a second when we're talking about partnership. But the third is education. So certainly you'll see us inside schools in doing programming where we're providing nutritional education or financial literacy programming. But education is also about making sure information is accessible. And you'll see us use our platforms consistently, especially besides our partners, to share information, have honest discussions in the marketplace so that it's easily accessible and can be utilized to people throughout the world. So that those 3 pillars, equity, essentials, and education, are how we hold ourselves accountable in all things at Angel City. So as we're building things, how do they fit back into it? So when we were building sponsorship and partnership for us, I've been doing this for a long time, and you walk into a room and you talk about, here's my property, here's my reach, here's what you're going to get by partnering with us, here's all the great things we're doing, but then here's how you can affiliate with us. And we wanted to take it a step further, where people thought of our partnerships as what we were accomplishing together, not necessarily just the affiliation. So when someone thinks of DoorDash and Angel City, they think that, yes, they're feeding 1 million people with food, right? So like that's an important piece of them. When they think of Birdies in Angel City, they understand that we're doing a youth program for diverse women in high school that get access both into fashion and sports, through the work that we're doing. And then of course our partners receive everything else they can buy everywhere else, right? They get signage and media and digital content, et cetera. But the reason we're partnering is much deeper than, and there's funds going back to that with the 10% piece, than just traditional partnership. It's not only something that fits us because of who we are, it's also something that candidly, like, consumers are going to begin demanding, right? So like when you're thinking through business strategies, the COVID consumer is different. And I can speak through this personally, right? As a mom of 2 girls that's been at home, like the products I'm using and where I spend my time and energy and the brands that I align myself with, both personally and in professional, like I'm thinking through what that feels like differently than I was before. And I'm thinking through who those brands are and how they show up for my community more than I was before. And the Gen Z consumer, it was already doing that, right? So now everybody's in that same mindset of really thinking through holding brands accountable, holding everybody accountable to, if they want to earn them not only from their dollar, but their affiliation, they really have to make sure that they're doing trusted things. So our sponsorship business has been incredible because we've built something like nobody has before when it comes to purpose this way. And the results have been great, not only monetarily to make sure we're proving a point that women's sports does justify the funds and the incredible partnerships that exist out there with us signing those significant deals, but we've also curated an incredible amount of brands that have never done this before. And they're seeing something in Angel City that they don't see in traditional sports. They're seeing something with us that's a mix of sport and purpose and pop culture, not just sports, right? And that's really what we are in a platform. So it's really been a joy of my career to be able to build this from the bottom up and then to see it come to fruition now. And we're only just getting started. There's a lot that we're going to accomplish together with those brands.
That's brilliant. I think, Jessica, I speak with so many people from the sponsorship side, and I think this is brilliant strategy what you've got out there. And the fact that you've stuck to it and it's showing a lot of incentive. It's a great thing because people start with purpose-driven sponsorship, and somewhere down the line, it doesn't happen that ways. Like they always seem to slide. But I think that's a brilliant way to do it. And which brings me to brands. What have been the interest of the brands? I know women sports is at an all-time high right now. So what has been their outlook towards Angel City?
Yeah, I think they're interested in what we're building and they're interested in aligning with our values, right? We stand for equity, essentials, and education. They want consumers to know they do too. And we're a really, very bright beacon out there for what that means. We're very vocal about being a leader in that space and we're unapologetic. So brands are looking to us to be that leader and they want to align. So that's the main thing. The second piece is, they're looking at how we're structuring our deals, right? When we're talking through the community chalk talks, like that's the content, that we're bringing to people. And that's what's really alluring people in to be a partner of ours, not necessarily the assets that, again, the hard assets are there, but that's not the focal point.
Also, when you talk about association and sponsorships, etc., obviously, I know, like you said, you must look for certain qualities within brands. So, how do you narrow down on a brand? Something which obviously aligns, like you said, with your strategy. But apart from that, there are many other factors, because you have these demographics to attract, say, millennials, etc. So, how do you go about that?
Yeah, we're definitely not just going out and trying to pick and choose like that. It'd be a little disingenuous to the process for sure. But we are having honest conversations with brands and then understanding where they are in their life cycles, what budgets are even capable on their end and what levels they can be in, and then seeing who we can align with that we feel strongly with, right? So the same conversation we have, these brands are also apt to tell us about the great work they're already doing. Birdies, for instance, they're founded by two women, and they've already been doing mentorship work since the fruition of their company, making sure that they're paving pathways for women entrepreneurs of tomorrow. They're already doing that. So how do we do that together is more of the question. Heineken, it's important to them and they do things around the globe for pride. And certainly that's going to be a big focal point for us and it's an important part of our community. They wanted to build that beside us, right? And do that where you have Gene Walker, who's in the Diageo portfolio that exists because historically whiskeys aren't marketed towards women and they don't agree with that. And they made an incredible brand that does marketing around firsts, but not lasts when it comes to women trailblazers, working with incredible women throughout the industry, both entertainment, sports, everywhere, news, etc. And how are we going to take that in every first that we're doing in Angel City and achieving, how are we making that make sense? So it's more about brand alignment once we have the conversation. Certainly, I would say it's been rare, but there have been a few times where we've had conversations with brands where it doesn't feel like it's a great fit. And we respectfully, discuss that with them or somebody that's asking us to have a conversation with someone.
Great. Also, just the fact that you all have celebrity owners help, and how much is the involvement of the owners when it comes to sponsorships and brand associations?
Yeah, so I mean, the owners are actual owners, which is an important differentiator sometimes in sports. So sometimes there's celebrity affiliations, right, that are owners, but more so use of their likeness. Our investors are our investors, right? So we're a company that they want to see succeed, and they all invested in us because they believe in the mission that we have. So I certainly don't own the right to any of their likeness, or are we able to put that into agreements? I think I'd be even more successful if I was, since they're all incredibly important and wonderful people. That said, like, of course, they're going to have our jersey and our merchandise to be attending our games, and like the natural affiliation just with them being involved in what we're doing is a shared purpose. So we certainly talk to that. And when there's opportunity for alignment, right? If we're doing great work out in the community and we know that that's important to one of our investors, or we're doing community chalk talks in for youth soccer, we're definitely going to be asking our 14 former U.S. women's national team members to participate, right? Because they should be there wearing our crest, and they're helping us build, the tomorrow of soccer with the youth.
Yes, definitely. And Jessica, my last question to you, because obviously you handle all the women in sports. Inclusion and diversity is something which is being talked about globally, and especially in past 6 years or a decade, I would say. And recently, we've seen a lot of women taking top position within the sports realm. So, do you think it's still a buzz? People are doing it for the sake of doing it, or have they embedded this philosophy within the organization, or will it take more time for everybody to understand that uh, to equalize the power of both men and women?
Yeah, I would hope that no one ever does it to do it, right? That's not helpful, and also disingenuous to the women leaders that are out there today that have earned these spots. I've definitely heard that before from counterparts of assuming that certain women get positions because they're a woman, and I 100%, do not agree with that. So I think, if I'm being honest, I think there's still a lot of work to go, especially in sports and entertainment. And we need to make sure that we're supporting women at every single level to not only enter the field of sports and entertainment, but to support them through different points in their personal lives, such as having a family, if that's something that they choose to do. I can speak to that personally. And also making sure that we're providing leadership skills and opportunities for growth, right? And I think a lot of that starts with every company, with also making sure you're doing a self-analysis, looking around. What does hiring look like for you? Does everyone look the same? Like, if they do, you should probably start thinking about that, right? And that's in a variety of ways. Like, we need a diverse table to make the best product possible and to be as representative as possible and to make ourselves the most successful as possible. That's been proven by the data, right? So making sure that as a company and as a leader, we're constantly asking ourselves those questions and are okay knowing that we need to work on things is really important. So I would urge, all leaders, men and women, to make sure that they're looking at that and asking themselves those honest questions about sitting that table, because we also need men leaders to make sure that they're helping as well. This isn't just, women helping other women. We need everybody, to really push towards pay equity and
Absolutely.
and equity just in positions, to your point.
Thank you so much, Jessica, for answering all my questions today. It's
Yeah, of
been
course.
wonderful chatting with you. And I see Amy's joined us. Hi,
Hi.
Amy. Hey. Hi, thank you for arranging this, Amy and Jessica. Thank you so much for your time. And I've had such an insightful conversation with you and get to know more about Angel City. So, if there's anything else, I'll just, send across the questions to Amy. If there is anything left, I'll transcribe this, whatever we've spoken today, and send across a copy to you for your approval, just so that you know this is all what we've talked about and
Perfect.
I've transcribed it fine. All right. Thank you so much, guys. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Bye.
Thanks
Thank
for
you so
waking up
much.
so early. I'll talk to you
Okay.
soon.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.